last name's pronounced Stigler.
Oh.
But Stigler was cute.
Here's the thing. My last name is so mispronounced that I oftentimes will ask just to make sure I'm pronouncing somebody else's last name appropriately, because 90% of the time I get Egger over Eager, and you get used to it. But I usually try and ask, so my apologies. I will make that correction, Kirk Stigler.
You're not the first person, just as a heads up.
Welcome to And Also, a podcast for the rest of the week. My name is John. I'm the lead pastor at Faith Alliance Church, and I'm joined each week by Kirk Stigler. He and I take a deeper dive into the previous week's message, and we look into the concepts and the scripture and the ideas that made up that message and work to apply them into our lives. We don't want to just talk about things that happened on Sunday. We want to talk about things that happened on Sunday that make a difference in our lives on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and through the rest of the week. So join us as we have a dialogue about what really matters in life, a life faithful to Christ, and how we can apply the things that were said in community in order for us to live and lead changed lives in our world.
All that to say, this past week, we talked about peace with self, a weird topic, I think. But what came up in your listening and reflecting and reading and so on?
So that actually kicked off a conversation with my teenage children, who are now embarrassed because I said teenage children. But that kicked off a conversation with my teenage children regarding external voices versus your internal voice, who you're listening to in regard to self-worth, for example, or who you're listening to as an influence. And that turned into a really helpful and useful conversation, that was kind of fun. It was kind of interesting to have them go, hey, wait a minute. Yeah. And then, so that was awesome.
Oh,
actually,
good.
that was your topic. Yeah.
What was the light bulb for that? I mean, without, embarrassing them further, of course.
Becoming self-aware and becoming aware of how, the pressures of some other people with their own insecurities might say or act toward yourself, might act toward you, that would influence how you would behave. Like, now you're changing your behavior because so-and-so makes it sound like whatever you did before was weird, or how you dressed was weird, or being afraid to stand out or stand up for yourself. So
is the influence of other people's actions, thoughts, or statements?
Yeah, how those are the external voices, right, for them, because teenagers, they have high school, middle school pressures, how those external voices influence what they think and do, versus the thought processes that they're churning around in their heads. And we've all had teenage brains, and that's a dangerous place to be. But in your teenage brain, when you're mulling over, how do I justify what I'm about to do versus what my parents have said, what church has told me over the years, all these influences. It was interesting. You mentioned last week that peace was relationship based, right? That and I can see, that peace is relationship based in terms of Christianity for sure, because then you get a sense of peace, you can achieve peace, or you will meet up with peace. I don't know if you've achieved anything, right? We're human beings, we stumble a lot, but you can meet up with peace and step into that stream the moment that you relinquish your imaginary control over anything and trust, right? And trust like a little kid trusts their parents, right? Which a little kid trusts their parents. That same time perception maybe is kind of a funny corollary for us, because God, I just need help with this project or this, moving this thing or this issue at my house, whatever it is. Oh man, nothing's happening. It's been 10 minutes. What's going on? Right? It's like the kid asked the parent, "Can we have cookies for dessert?" Sure. And dinner is in 4 hours, and then that might as well be 100 years, right? Because you're a kid. But it's that kind of thing that we feel that that kind of tension, but we have to be able to let it all go and trust. And that's hard, right? But it's rewarding too when you can get there, and it is a major stress reliever when you realize that you can't influence how anything goes. You can put out there your opinion about something. Hey, I think we should do XYZ because of ABC, whatever that is. For all the people who like algebraic, quotations. But it's just it's a funny thing about human beings where we latch on to something. I need something to happen, and you build up this tension about it. Like you close in and hold on really tight, which as anyone who's ever tried to grab either sand or water knows that doesn't work. It just slips through, right? But soft hands, no problem. You can hold lots of stuff. So the same idea, like I can't hold on to all this stuff. I can't, clench my fists any tighter around any of this. I have to let it go and trust and know that, the one who created the entire universe, they might have an idea about how to get this done or how to make this thing happen or provide all our needs. Like that was another quote that, Jesus said, you worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear. Well, why? Look, these things in nature are taking care of themselves. You don't think God cares about you? By the way, here I am. Came right. And I would have loved if he had said that. By the way, hello. But yeah, how interesting that it's been said a million times. But again, like teenage brain, you can tell the kid so many times, right? You can tell the grown adult so many times, and it depends on how receptive you are to hearing that. And we all get to a point in our lives where something clicks, something changes. It may not be dramatic. It may just be a mental shift. But when you can give over the control that you thought you needed, and then that's that beautiful relationship that you're talking about, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think, what I've been having trouble with, to be honest, over the last few weeks is really describing like the experience of peace. It's defined as completeness and wholeness biblically. And then, talking about peace with self is, letting Christ have the final word. But the experience, what is peace like? What is it? And not only what is peace like, but what is sustained peace like? Because the last time we talked about the tranquility and peace thing, which I think was super helpful. And I think we settle for these moments of tranquility when there's so much more. There's this sustained peace that's found in relationship, not in circumstance. And I stumble over trying to understand that the experience, I guess, of sustained peace. What is that like in relationship with Christ? And I think you're right. Like, one, I like the idea of it's kind of, because it's relational, it's kind of in a place, like you step into the stream, right? It's not circumstantial, but you have to choose to step into it. I think that was really good. But then even more, I think the idea of like letting go of control. Like, I wonder if sustained peace is the ability to let go of control, of not, I said that humility and therefore peace, they're similar. Humility is the act of finding your way back to peace, but humility and consequently peace, is the ability to hold on to things without having to control them. Like you said that the hard hands, you can't grip onto sand and water, but you can cup it. And so it's like I wonder if that's the experience of peace, is the kind of being able to cup water, that kind of visual. And you can hold things, but you don't have to control them. Which means that when things don't go your way,
you can't assume you're steering the ship, right? You are a deckhand. So
that's good.
The acceptance of that moment, then it's a more peaceful ride when you aren't trying to steer.
So is that the experience of peace? Would
There's
you
so
say?
much more to see and enjoy.
What's that?
Yeah, I was just saying that there's so much more to see and enjoy now when you can cruise along rather than focus on a particular line of travel. Right? There's an old hymn, right, that includes the line "Peace like a river." Right? When peace like a river starts out with, and it's an interesting way to look at peace, especially if you're fighting the stream flow.
Huh.
Right? And when you can relax and just go with that, that's that trust moment. How funny. Yeah. I don't know how many times in our lives we resist what could just be simply relax and go, or I'm going along this path. I can trust that all the other parts that need to come with me are going to be there. They will be provided. Yeah.
Versus like peace like a river, and I'm going to walk upstream. I'm going to walk up the current.
I'm going to fight the stream the whole way. Yeah. Peace like river. Who cares? All these fish are in my way. I don't know. It's there's some funny ideas you can get, but how do you experience or express the experience of peace? And it's a state that's very temporal in our lives, right? Few of us can stay in that stream for long. For some reason, we get distracted. I don't know. We jump out of it. Things get in our way. But it's interesting to imagine that you could maintain that state. I don't know if that's a possibility in life. You look at Jesus as the example, right? Was he always at peace in all things? So, like when he was walking on water, was he at peace? Probably. I would imagine you'd have to be. Was he at peace kicking over the tables in the temple? No. Right?
Point. Yeah.
Or was he? Holy moly! That's amazing. And then,
or like in the garden,
in the garden, sweating blood, right? Sweating drops of blood. I doubt that's peace, right? That's exceptional stress.
Huh.
So even though we seek that for ourselves, for our families, for the world, it's temporal and not something you can hold on to for long, but it's a wonderful place to be, and we all want to get there as often as possible.
So that's a great thought exercise, I think, about Jesus and peace. So it could be argued, and I would agree with you that even if you include the point where he was turning tables, that he was at peace. Let's say for some reason you could argue that point. When he's sweating drops of blood in the garden, asking for God to remove the cup, there wasn't peace or completeness. In fact, the cross itself means that there's a separation between God and Christ. So there was a point when Jesus was not at peace. So then the experience of peace is not to be there perpetually. Like right. if we're trying to follow Jesus, the point of Christianity is not to experience ongoing peace.
Yeah, it's not a state of bliss.
It's not a state of right. It's not a state of bliss.
It's being engaged in God's work in some way, whatever your role is in that, and trusting that what you need will be provided, what you're doing will be His will. Hopefully, you're walking in His way, and then that trust, right, the peace that passes understanding, will come along, and you can trust. Okay, that was this was the moment I was there to do, help facilitate. That's all you're doing. you're facilitating, right?
Peace experientially can't be a state of bliss because that's not possible. It's temporal. But peace, it may be found in just in the, not the satisfaction, but the understanding that you are where God has called you to be in this moment, and that He and with that the understanding that He is the provider of all the things that we need. So it's not bliss, but there is an experience of peace. It's not found in being always at rest, but it's found in being always where God has called us to be, or kind of doing or doing what God has called us to do.
Even that can be challenging, right? So
Yeah,
look at Mother Teresa, for example, right?
Yeah.
Who was doing what God meant her to do on a scale that few of us will ever come close to. And she had trouble. There were days when there was a new set of mouths to feed to add to the collection that she was working with, and I'm sure she went, how, right? How is this going to work? So, is simply doing that, doing God's will, enough to feel peace? I think it could be, but there's a chunk of our humanity that gets in our way.
Yeah.
And like our ego, right? That goes, told me to do 1, 2, 3. I did 1, 2, 3. Now there's a 4. What?
You didn't tell me anything about a 4.
Yeah. Is he big enough to handle 4 as well? Oh, wait. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a funny balance between who we are as people and who we can trust God to be, and are we willing to relinquish our power, right? Our imaginary power, right? Which is the imaginary power that we started the conversation with, of other people, like what they think of us.
Yeah.
We give them that power, right? We give them that power over us when we think that their opinions can matter over our lives, right? And in some instances, like in your job, that does matter, right? What your boss thinks of your work matters, right?
Yeah.
So in a moment like that, another opinion matters in that sense. So you're always striving to do your best, right? My utmost for His highest, right? So we're always striving to do our best. But yeah, is doing the work alone finding the state of peace? No. So finding the state of peace, is it simply the acceptance of God's overall ability to take care of all of it, and we're just the hands and the feet and the mouth? Maybe. I'm sure it helps, but there has to be a piece where we let go of as well, and that's really hard. Yeah.
This Sunday I'm doing peace with others, because that'll be a doozy. And then but
that actually goes back to this week, right? Like, you let like you said, your imagined perception of what that other people think of you.
Yeah.
Do you let that influence how you feel and act? And if you're one of those people who just doesn't care at all, right? That's kind of insulting. And
that presents other problems. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're somebody who cares too much, that now you've fenced yourself in and you're totally stuck.
Yeah.
So where's the balance? And is peace the balance? I don't know.
Good closing question. I don't know either. It's a great question.
Yeah. Dun, 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 for next week. Yeah.
Wait till next week. All right. Well, thanks for doing this again. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.